while the bulb is being reproduced, and it gives either a change of colour or a change from a single flower to a double flower. That is an example of how you will find a sport in the field growing amongst the variety that it's bought it from. I'll show you now how we propagate. A hyacinth bulb doesn't naturally reproduce itself to any extent at all, and so we have to use a propagating technique. You need a special knife like this, or a melon scooper will do, and you take out all the base plate so that you've cut down to concentric scales. Now that is left in plenty of air circulation. You do this actually July, beginning of August, because you want the high temperatures to stimulate the growth of small bulbils round the inside. After about 2 or 3 weeks, those cut edges will callus over. The bulb then goes into an incubation chamber at about 25 to 28 degrees centigrade for up to 3 months. At the end of that 3 months, around the inside of those scales, small bulbils will have developed and they'll grow to roughly the size of small peas. The bulb is then planted out, and then in the spring, I'll illustrate this by growing one in a pot, the growth will start emerging like this, and if we tip it out, whoops, and wash it off, and you can see all the small bulbils coming from underneath of various sizes. They will grow on and produce bulbs about the size of marbles. By the time the leaves die down at the end of June, you then lift the bulbs and grow them on for 3 or 4 years, and they become full-size flowering bulbs again.
And if you've got spring flowering hyacinths in bowls, then it's well worth planting those out in the garden too. But if they were specially prepared for Christmas, then they're going to take many years before they flower, so it's really not worth keeping them. It's better just to throw them away. Now, don't say we never bring you romance. This is my new dustbin. It was presented to me by the local council and replaces my 2 conventional bins. Now, one of those I should drill holes in the bottom and use it for a compost container. Absolutely perfect. But for the other one, I've got an even better use. Every living thing needs water to survive, so a surefire way of attracting wildlife into your garden is to build a pond. Now, if your garden's very small, the pond can be small too, so I'm going to make one out of my old dustbin. They're very easy to cut off with a hacksaw, but you need to get the top straight, of course. So what I did was to measure up from the bottom to the top here, all the way round, and then put a piece of tape on to give me a dead straight line, and then I just cut it off with the saw. And then the pond goes in the hole. It's important to put it in a hole because that will keep the water cool and clear from green algae. Now, obviously, you need to get it level because water will, of course, find its own level all the time. So level it in with a spirit level first of all and check it both ways. That's about right. Now, when you come to fill in the soil around the sides, bear in mind that the plastic is really quite flimsy and it will be very easy to distort the shape of the pond as you're backfilling. So what you need to do is to fill up the pond with water as you're putting in the soil. And it's exactly the same story if you've bought one of those preformed plastic ponds from the garden centre. Right, now you put a little bit of soil in the bottom of the pond, which would be a nice environment for any plants you've got. And the first thing that you need is oxygenating weed. This will help to keep the water clear. Now, normally with big ponds, you'd tie a weight on the bottom and throw it in, but with a little one like this, well, you can just push it into the soil at the bottom. And then, very importantly, you need one plant in a pot at the side. And since the top of the pot should come just below water level, you might need a couple of bricks in the bottom there. And in the top of the pot, just put a few stones. This is just to hold the soil in. And the whole thing acts as a step, so that any animals that are foolish enough to fall in will easily be able to get out of there. And very shortly that water will clear completely and the pond will be very attractive. Now, you're going to want to plant plants around the pond, but do bear in mind that this soil is not actually moist at all, it's bone dry. So what you need are plants that look as though they could be bog garden plants, but aren't. Things like the lovely bleeding heart, for example, or Corydallis with superb blue flowers, or very appropriately, Angel's fishing rods. And the summer, that's going to look splendid. And of course, summer really is the time to view gardens, and that's when Gay Search visited the garden of the late Roald Dahl to talk to Felicity Dahl.
One of the best-loved children's authors in the world, Roald Dahl lived and wrote here at Gypsy House in Buckinghamshire for most his working life. He was a keen gardener and passionate grower of orchids and pelargoniums, but from his garden he took not only great pleasure, but also inspiration for his books. This is the Gypsy Caravan featured in Danny, Champion of the World, and the garden also gave him the idea for James and the Giant Peach, the cartoon version of which has just opened in America to rave reviews.
And here's the wonderful, wonderful peach tree.
When Lissy, as Felicity's called, arrived in 1983, he encouraged her to take on the garden. But how much did she know about gardening then?
Nothing. I was a complete amateur. Ross certainly wasn't an amateur. But he thought, well, I'll let her go. I'll just let her do it, and she'll probably realise her error. He never bossed you around or anything. He'd say, well, all right, if you think, yes, have a go, see what it looks like. The first thing we did was the herb beds in the front of the house. Then I wanted to put the path back, and I did that by putting the lavender borders each side. And originally I planted 4 different types of lavender, thinking I was terribly clever, and of course it looked hideous. It never came out together, and then it got very leggy. So I uprooted all of that, and I found that there was a man in Jersey who specialised in lavenders. And so I rang him and explained my dilemma, and he said, right, you need number 9. I have no other information other than it's number 9.
Goodness, your hostas are astonishing. There's not a slug hole to be seen.
I know, they're incredible, aren't they? Somebody told me that if you dug ash, fire ash, into the soil, that gets rid of the slugs. So we put all the fire ash from the house onto them, and certainly it's worked.
Absolutely.